Dear listeners, welcome you all to another episode on Azure On Air. Today I'm here with an expert in Azure space. I have Wagner Silveria with me, who has got rich work experience in the New Zealand market since 2002. He has been focusing on integration and service oriented architectures, and he's worked across industries, be it healthcare, education, transports, utilities, and retail. He has got a great passion for solving uh, real time problems with right solutions. And I'm sure we are going to have a lot to carry forward from the next few minutes of discussion with Wagner.
With the a Paas or platform as a service, it's much simpler to go and focus on the process, focus on your
Mm,
business
mm,
problem and how to solve
mm,
that. If you're starting something that you really know that's cloud native, is another place where the Paas is going to be a really good fit.
mm,
You don't use Paas just for a cloud native, right? There's a
mm,
whole lot
mm,
of hybrid scenarios where
mm.
Paas is still a really good fit.
Wagner, welcome to our show.
Thank you very much, Ezzy, and thanks for the kind words.
I just spoke what you have done, Wagner. Your contribution to the community is immense, and you have got a lot of followers like us who are listening to what you are teaching us on Asia.
Thank you. It's good to know that the work we've been doing is
Mm-hmm,
helping people. I think is the main thing that we try to do
mm-hmm,
is try to
mm-hmm,
make content that if you're looking
mm-hmm,
for something, you would find it. Like
mm-hmm,
most of the times, I think that's why I call my blog "Note to Self" because it's
mm-hmm.
the things that I would like to know if I had that kind of problem. And it seems like some of the other people is finding that useful as well, which is really good.
Definitely, Wagner. And the topic that we have chosen for today's discussion, I think you would be the best person to talk about PaaS offerings that Azure has brought into the space. Is PaaS a simpler way to build smarter business applications, Wagner?
I think it is. I
Mm-hmm,
feel it's like that is a simpler way to build.
mm-hmm,
One of the reasons I think about that is
mm,
I remember the old times, like coming back from a beach talk experience and some of other things like that.
mm-hmm,
Even before you starting to do any kind of development,
mm-hmm,
you have to worry about the servers and the networking and do we have connectivity, a whole lot of those things, right? With
mm,
the a Paas or platform as a service, it's much simpler to go and focus on the process or on building what you want instead of trying
mm-hmm,
to focus on putting all of those things together. And especially in Azure, that the area that both in you specialize as, we see how
mm,
fast it is to. I need a new logic app, like our
mm.
one of our favorite tools, and
Yeah.
30 seconds later, the thing is there
Mm,
ready for you to use and connect to things. But the
mm,
same thing would go for any of the other components from the integration space, but not just integration, right?
mm, mm,
I remember when I was putting my blog
mm,
together, I
mm,
think in half an hour I have a whole WordPress website ready for me to use and started
mm,
typing, and
mm,
all of that was using the past components from was a really good experience because I was using kind of a SaaS product that was WordPress or a platform, and
mm,
the past components from Azure, and take all
mm,
of the guess from me. Was just concentrating in writing the posts.
mm,
So the in one of the things that help us a lot is being able to
mm,
foster innovation. Like how many
mm,
projects did you have an idea, and by the time that you're thinking about, but I have to set up a server and I have to do this and I have to do that,
mm,
goes to the to hard basket, right? With something like
mm,
Pass is okay. Here is my code. I push it up
mm,
to Azure, for example. Yet it's working. Now let's try to sell that. I remember a number of hackathons that we've been working that in overnight
mm,
we have like solutions
mm,
all created, and that wouldn't be possible with without Pass.
Awesome. Yes, well said. So I get to focus only on my core business, and hence I get to go to the market faster by accommodating pass in my architectures. Am I right in understanding this, Wagner?
Mhm.
Hmm. Yeah. So yes.
Focus on your
Mm,
business
mm,
problem and how to solve
mm,
that.
mm. And we have the solutions readily available, which can be put together in fact integrated together to solve our real time challenge. And is PAS particularly beneficial in specific business scenarios? We would love to hear your experience in developing PAS solutions for your business scenarios.
Okay. So as we were saying before, like that idea of fast development is a place where the PaaS really thrives, right?
Mm, mm,
So focus on your business application and making sure that you have to work just on the problem and knowing that the whole infrastructure is going to be taken care of for you is really
mm,
powerful. The other place, if you're starting something that you really knows that's cloud native, is
mm,
another place where the PaaS is going to be a really good fit, right?
mhm,
Because again, it comes to the idea of just consuming the components instead of trying to set up a whole infrastructure, and doing that allow you that fast development that is going to thrive or drive a lot of innovation, right? The whole
mhm,
idea of make something fast, fail fast if it doesn't work. But on the other hand, when something works really well and you become successful overnight, then that's
mhm,
another place where Pask is quite useful for us, right? So the before you have to really bet everything on your application, and if I think that is going to be successful, I already have all my hardware ready for that.
mm.
If it's not successful, I just like lost the money on the hardware. I have to try to repurpose
Correct.
that, use that everywhere,
Mm,
somewhere else, right? But especially on a market like today, one influencer using your application and talking about that can make it go viral, and all of a sudden, you are serving 10 people today. You're going to be serving 1,000 tomorrow, having the whole pass infrastructure
mm,
in place that are going to help you to scale. Of course, that doesn't stop. That doesn't mean that you can write any kind of code and just use that, right?
mm, mm,
But
mm,
if you created your code correctly to support that scalability, you don't
mm.
have to worry about the infrastructure. It scales for you,
Yeah.
and when that passes and you scale back to normal
Mm,
values, you don't have to be paying for all of that extra hardware.
mm,
On the
mm,
similar note, like applications that are seasonal by default is not a really good business scenario for that.
mm,
Something that you have a small campaign that is only going to be running for your Christmas
mm,
or tax returns. I have a business that help people to prepare the tax return or to verify if the tax return is correct. That is
mm,
only going to be used in very specific times of the year or very specific times of the month. Another place where PAS can help you a lot because you don't use it, then you use it, and then you don't use it again, right? So
mm,
those are
mm.
areas that I think the PAS is quite beneficial.
Very true. So, with your experience, you have helped a number of enterprises adapt to cloud without any hassle. So, I'm sure you would be the right person to enlighten us with a real-time business scenario where in a past adoption has brought in a transformation. We would be love to hear your experience in this space, Wagner.
Okay, so I think my first encounter with PAS and my first encounter with Logic Apps specifically was quite a good example of that. So
Mm,
I was working in a project and I was brought really late into that project. The A joint venture was disconnecting from an existing company. They bought
mm-hmm,
a piece of a company and they have to set up a whole new set of systems to
mm,
support that new joint venture. They had
mm,
like 4 months to disconnect from that company. After that,
mhm,
every day that they were still using the existing systems, they could pay a fine, right?
mm,
In
mm,
typical fashion, they thought that they're going to be able to do all of that in 4 months,
mhm,
but integration was an afterthought. I had
mm,
like 1 month to implement integration between 7 systems
oh,
and very complex workflows, bi-directional in some cases.
mm,
And they first asked me that if you should be using Bstock for that, and I said, if you're trying to use Bstock in that particular case, and
mm,
don't get me wrong, I love Bstock,
mm,
that would take like a month was just enough to set up
mm,
the servers and define what the schemas are, right?
mm,
So rigid is the structure. So we
mm,
decided to bet on Logic Apps on that when Logic Apps was still on preview,
mm,
and we managed to get the whole integration done. And to be honest, was not just Logic Apps, but was Logic Apps,
mm.
API management, and Service Bus working together. That was like the
Winning
the
combination.
three amigos of the Azure integration. So with API management as a PaaS service, we managed to provide APIs to the systems.
Mm,
Mhm.
mm,
To get the APIs to the systems and mock them so they could use the APIs
mm,
without we working on the back end. Then the ability to use Service Bus as a with topic subscription, we could receive one message and push into to multiple scenarios would make the workflows much simpler to create because I only have to worry about one side of the for each one of the subscribers, right?
mm,
And Logic Apps doing all the workflow. The other thing that even though we bet on a technology that was still in preview,
mm,
because it was a cloud native application and it
mm,
was and the technology was managed by managing the platform as a service. Any
mm,
problems that we found as early adopters talking to Microsoft,
mhm,
a change was back on the system in a week or a couple of days, right?
mm,
Depending on
mm,
how complex or how critical those changes were.
mm, mm,
Going back to the Beanstalk example, we
mm.
knew that any kind of things for a cumulative update or even for a patch would take like 2 3 months when we only had 4 weeks.
Very
On
true.
that particular project, we went live 2 days after Logic App went live. But
Mm,
I still think that is one of the best examples of
mm.
how fast you can implement things using past components.
Awesome. So, Ed, that's a wonderful experience that you have shared with us, Wagner. And this, like, inspires me to share my experience with Document 360, which is rated as one of the best knowledge management softwares now. We built Document 360's MVP in an hackathon in just a couple of weeks. So it was possible only because our architecture was involving Paas Services. So that is a wonderful experience that I wanted to share with the listeners of today.
Yeah, I remember being on Integrate when Saravana was talking about Document 360, and
Mm,
that experience was simply amazing. I totally agree that it's like a beautiful example of how
mm.
fast you can implement things with the PaaS.
Yes, Wagner. So we have Bistock 360 and as well as Serverless 360. So as you're aware, Bistock 360 is a product for Bistock server administration, and Serverless 360 is for making your operations feasible with the Azure platform. So what we observe among the customers of these products is our Bistock 360 customers are now considering cloud adoption, and they are going ahead into the Azure platform. So in this scenario, we have multiple options to consider: PaaS, SaaS, and IaaS solutions. So, when to choose what? what would be appropriate for specific business scenarios where hybrid integrations are involved, Wagner? Or do they all work together?
Well, they can work together, but you have to choose the right tools for the right job, right?
Mm,
So
mm,
usually, when I trying to do that analysis, we would be starting with like the SaaS. Try to find that if you find a good fit for the business, an application that is a good fit for the business, that
mm,
has a large overlap of features for what you wanted, and is
mm,
able to be extended instead
mm,
of just customized, then you will start that as a foundation. So you try to use SaaS first. On top of that, when you
mm,
needed to do that extensibility, you
mm,
usually would be thinking about using Paas components to complement that. Or
mm,
if you don't find a SaaS application that is a good fit for you, and you
mhm,
wanted to go and create your own functionality, then
mm,
if you're thinking about the application being cloud native, if
mhm,
you needed those rapid development, rapid development cycles that we're talking before, if
mm,
you're thinking that you're going to have a quick growth or
mhm,
some kind of peaks, that's where
mhm.
you would be using pass.
Yes.
And don't get me wrong, like
Mm, mm,
you don't use PaaS just for cloud native, right? There's a
mm,
whole lot
mm,
of hybrid scenarios where
mm,
PaaS is still a really good fit, especially in some of the components that has either virtual network integration or able to work
mhm,
well with on-premise components.
mhm,
So if you don't find something that works on the best solution for you, or you need applications that are isolated by nature, right?
mhm,
Or if you wanted to do a migration, you wanted to do that cloud adoption that we were talking before, but you
mhm,
still have a large amount of legacy, then one of the options is using infrastructure as a services and think about a lift and shift approach
mhm,
to unlock yourself from the hardware, the on-prem hardware, right? And after that, start and think about modernization, like
mhm,
which parts of these components I can actually move
mhm,
into the PaaS, which part of those components I actually should be maybe getting a SaaS component to replace that. And there is still going to have like some workloads, like very specialized workloads that you needed to use on a cluster of machines, because that's how
mm,
it's work. So that's a
mm,
lot of place where infrastructure as a services is a
mm,
really good fit, right?
mm,
So
mm,
in the end, there is not like a single one is better than the other. We needed to find what are that sweet spots and try to use them together instead of like fighting each other.
Exactly. We are lucky to have these services which are interoperable and which can interconnect with each other at ease and still help us achieve our business goals. So, Wagner, what are your tips for young budding talents in Asia? You are an influencer that all of lot of the young community people are looking forward for valuable suggestions from. So help us in guiding us in the right way to enable ourselves into the Azure space. What are your recommendations?
Okay, so things that trip me up before, that's probably the best thing I can give as tips, right? The first one is understand the capabilities of the past service that you're using.
Mm,
Like many times, we're thinking about, I'll give a typical example. We see that a connector in Logic Apps, for
mm,
example,
mm-hmm,
that you have a connector for a specific application, for Microsoft project or for Salesforce or whatever it is. And you
mm-hmm,
think, I have the connector, because of that, I'll be able to do everything with that connector,
mm, mm,
right?
mm,
That tripped
mm,
me up many
mm-hmm.
times when I was starting to work with that.
Okay.
Or I I know that the web applications has virtual network integration.
Mm-hmm.
That means that are going to be able to use virtual network integration on any tier of my services, right? Wrong. So understanding the tiers and what each one of the different price tiers is going to add as capability to your Paas Services is really important as well.
Mm,
And the last one is as I said before, is not a case of SaaS versus PaaS versus IS. Is
mm,
why not all of them together? Find out the things that works really well for each one of the components,
mm,
and then try to create the solutions taking the things that works the most for you.
mm,
So if I think about three little nuggets that help me improve my solutions, would be
mm.
those three. What is the things like the tips that you've been collected over the years? Because I know that you've been doing a lot of work on that space as well.
Uh, right, Wagner. Um, as a part of my work, I get to interact with a number of Azure experts and people working, playing key role in enterprises. So what I have understood is like, get an in-depth knowledge on the technology, understand your business needs, and then map them together. You have solutions readily available, but we need to understand what our business needs and how the solution can fit in to solve the problem right way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Don't be too attached to a single thing. Find what that actually
Exactly.
works.
Exactly. Explore. Never stop exploring. And I feel we are lucky to be in this era of application development, because when
Okay.
I started my career a decade back, the way we
Mm-hmm.
built
Yes. And
applications, and now how do we build our the way advancements, and it is requires us to become smart with the introduction of smart technologies.
I totally agree. Like, is a really good time to be working on application development in general because how fast you can do stuff.
Hmm.
And also, as you're saying, keep exploring and keep learning because Azure itself changes every 6 months, right? New capabilities, different things popping up, things disappearing because it didn't have the traction that we thought that would have.
Hmm.
So we really need to be keeping an eye of what is happening and
Hmm.
finding out what is at work at that point in time, but also have a little bit of a critical eye of, is that a technology that actually going to be successful, or something that we should be waiting a little bit or investing on something that I already know. So there is a really good balance between using the latest and greatest versus
Hmm.
finding
Hmm.
what you think it would be working.
That's an absolutely necessary tip for right now when things are drastically changing. We need to have the clear idea on evaluating where are we now and what is coming ahead. So it's a great session, Wagner. Lot of inputs, lot of takeaways for everyone who is listening to this session today. And thank you for being on our show and sharing your knowledge with us.
Thank you very much for inviting. I have a really good evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Wagner.
Cove.co.